Hi, welcome to another video. So, there's a new open source graphical interface for Codex with support for things like Claude Code and stuff apparently coming soon. This one is called T3 Code and it's by Theo. It's in alpha stage, and as someone who has tested maybe more than 50 graphical interfaces by now, I have become a connoisseur in judging these graphical interfaces. So, let's talk about it. There are two ways to use it. You can either run it as a web server with a simple command, which will launch it as a web server, and you can then access it in the browser. So, you can potentially host it on a server and keep tabs on it. Though, it doesn't have any security feature to maybe password protect it or anything, but you can potentially use an NGINX server to add a password to it, but it would have been better to have that. So, I guess that could be added later. Anyway, I'll be focusing on the desktop app and talking about that majorly. Both of them are basically the same. So, this is what it looks like. On the left, you have the projects that you have open and you can work on them. Almost something like the Codex app as well. Adding projects is quite buggy though. So first of all, it doesn't check if you actually have the folder that you are adding. So, if you happen to add a misspelled folder or something, then it won't give you any error or anything. It will get added, and then when you send a message, you get a simple Codex error, and you'd have to figure out what's wrong yourself, which is not very good to see. Secondly, it also doesn't work if you put in a tilde sign and then add your project. So, I have the KingBench app in my home directory. So, I should be able to just type // and then the project name, but that also doesn't work. It gets added, but sending a message gives you an error. You basically have to put in the full path with your username or use the select directory option. It would have been better to just get rid of this text box for path because it doesn't really work well. Anyway, adding a project, it shows up on the sidebar, and then you can create a new thread in the project and work on it. As I said, it just supports Codex for now. You can also switch between plan and code mode, and then change the reasoning effort, and also enable full access or supervised access. You can also use worktree if you want, and also change between branches, and create worktrees from different branches as well, which is great to see. On the top, you have some options. First one is quite cool, which is the action option, where you can basically add a set of commands to run by clicking it, or you can also make it automatically run when a worktree is created. You can also open the project in other editors and Finder and stuff. You can also commit and push with one click if you want along with it, which is not new. Conductor has it already, and Verdant has it. So, it's good to see nonetheless. Apart from that, you can also see as it works here. Now, there are some major issues with it. First of all, when it changes a file, it just says, "File change completed." I cannot know what files are being changed, which is very weird. For seeing the patch of the changes, you can apparently click here and see it, but it doesn't really show it up for me, and just shows me this error. I tried opening and reopening and everything, but it doesn't really work. I believe it depends on the Codex checkpoints in order to check for the differing files, and otherwise, it gives this error which is quite weird. I also cannot see the files changed in the tool calls either, which is also weird. That is basically all you can do here. In terms of the UI and features, I don't really think that it brings anything super new to the table. Very basic and kind of buggy as of now. Obviously, it will get better down the line as it's open source, which I really appreciate. Things like Conductor aren't open source, and this one is, which is great to see. However, there are some better open source options as well. Like this one is Gene. It's by the developer of Coolify. It is quite amazing, actually. I haven't got around to do a video about it, but it's actually quite good and open source. Though, just from a functionality standpoint on how to do these agentic UIs successfully, and something that I really like is something like Verdant. Verdant is not a Claude Code or Codex GUI, but they have their own harness, which is quite good, and it is like a fully graphical interface. And I think if you want a graphical agent interface, then this one is by a wide margin the best. It does three things very well. Its agentic contraption is actually really good, and it's extremely lightweight. In idle, it only takes like 100 megabytes of memory, while T3 code and even Conductor take upwards of 200 megabytes, which can be a lot depending on how you see and use it. Secondly, Verdant also does the multiple agents and things running in parallel really well. I like their UI much better. Basically, you get a browser-like interface here. You can change projects here like you change profiles in Chrome, and it's very, very snappy. It opens up instantly, and then you can create worktrees in them, and then within each worktree, you can have different threads also working simultaneously, and you can manage it much more easily because it flows with your brain correctly, as most of us have used things like a browser for managing it. Plus, in Verdant, you also get the option to edit files on the fly if you want to change something and you don't have to open another editor for that. You can also stage changes, and you get things like code review, and you also get options like clean worktree and stuff, and it's super snappy, and you can make multiple threads within worktrees, which I enjoy, and I use Verdant a lot as well, and probably the only one that I use. I was using Conductor for a while, but then I left it, and I just use Kilo CLI and Verdant for now. T3 code is good, but has a long way to go for me to use it daily. It is quite a bit buggy. It only has Codex, which I don't use. By the way, the GPT 5.4 full testing and review will be live tomorrow. I am working on testing it. And even after GPT 5.4, I'm not going to use Codex for now at the very least. So, yeah, that will come tomorrow. T3 code is good, but not great in the sea of other options that are already available. It brings nothing new to the table. I myself have tried to make some UIs with different things, like a superhuman style and stuff, but it just doesn't work well, and I stick to stuff made by others. But it is open source, so I think that you can take it forward and stuff. So that is kind of good nonetheless. That is majorly about it. It needs some more work for sure, and that is why it's in alpha. So I hope that it becomes something great with new foundational stuff, rather than just being plain and simple. Overall, it's pretty cool. Anyway, share your thoughts below and subscribe to the channel. You can also donate via Super Thanks option or join the channel as well and get some perks. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.